Hi everybody, welcome back to English for You. I'm Pat.
And I'm Nikki.
So over the last 2 days, we read the story of The Lovely Bones by Alice Sebold.
The main story was about Susie, who was killed by Mr. Harvey. However, her spirit didn't completely go away.
That's right, and that's a big part of the story. Susie's spirit watches a lot of what happens, learning about how Mr. Harvey has killed a lot of other girls and women.
She also sees the grief her family suffers.
That's right. Now, at one point, Susie manages to possess Ruth, her high school classmate.
In her body, Susie was able to say goodbye to her high school sweetheart, Ray.
And also gave Ruth some knowledge to share about the dead being all around them.
In the end, she sees Mr. Harvey die in an accident as he tries to catch another victim.
That's right. He kind of falls and slips and suffers. Now, he never got punished. You know, he wasn't thrown in jail or anything like that. But Susie is still happy with this outcome, this result, as it means Mr. Harvey won't hurt anyone else. And Susie is now at peace. She can kind of return to heaven, and that ends the story.
So let's now talk a bit more about the themes of the story.
All right.
Reading The Lovely Bones. Alice Sebold's supernatural novel, The Lovely Bones, is a story of loss told from a unique angle. Very early in the book, Susie Salmon is murdered in a terrible act of violence by her seemingly mild-mannered neighbor. But when Mr. Harvey skips town, her family is robbed of their chance for justice. In this sense, there's a cruel touch of reality in the book. Even though we know that Mr. Harvey dies before he claims his next victim, Susie's family doesn't know this. As far as they're concerned, her killer got away. Susie's death is doubtless the book's most visible tragedy. But another tragedy slowly takes place as the story progresses. Susie watches as her friends, brother, and sister grow up. She sees Ruth come to understand herself and Lindsay fall in love. Susie sees what it's like to slowly become an adult, something she can't experience herself. By adding this element to the story, Sebold gives a voice to young murder victims. She shows us the side of the story that we never hear when innocents become the victims of unspeakable crimes.
So day 3 starts by saying Alice Sebold's supernatural novel, The Lovely Bones, is a story of loss told from a unique angle. So the word supernatural means to do with ghosts, gods, demons, other things that aren't real and don't exist in the natural world, but do exist in a lot of the stories we tell, the movies we watch, the books we read, and so on.
And we say the story is told from a unique angle.
That's right. So unique just means kind of special, very different, very unusual. But the word angle, now this could mean the difference between two lines. So yeah, a 90-degree angle, a 45-degree angle, and so on. Here, however, in this kind of context, it means a particular way of approaching or considering or thinking about an issue or a problem, or a particular way of presenting this idea. So think about certain movies. Many movies will start at the start. They'll tell the character's story beginning to end. They'll follow time. Now, other movies tell maybe 2 or 3 stories that sort of mix together, jump around them in time, that kind of thing. Pulp Fiction is an example. 3 stories that just kind of all happen around each other but very rarely meet. Now, each movie that you see and most books that you read will be told from a different angle. It could be the storyteller, it could be the kind of story, it could be if every part of the story is a letter. That's a different angle. So here's one that we could say. This detective story is told from an unusual angle. We find out at the end that the storyteller is the killer.
Angle 是名词，原本的意思呢就是角度。那在课文这里指的是不同的立场和观点。在一个故事里面呢，我们会有不同的 narration， 不同的叙事方式，或者是从不同的立场来说明。很多时候故事都是用第三人称 a third person narration 来说，但是在这个故事，我们可以看到说话者他是 Susie 本人，他是第一人称叙事。
Yeah, a third person is like he did, she went. A first person is I went, I did. Second person is you go, you see this. Not very common in novels. You can see it very rarely, that kind of thing. But what is this unusual, this unique angle for this story? Well, it says very early in the book, Susie Salmon is murdered in a terrible act of violence by her seemingly mild-mannered neighbor. So this is part of the angle in that the main character is killed early rather than kind of surviving. Normally, the main character gets in danger but lives. Here, the main character is killed. But let's look at another few words in that sentence. The first one we need to talk about is violence. Violence is a noun, and it's any kind of behavior or action that involves a lot of physical force used in a way to hurt others, damage something, or even kill someone. So violence is fighting, throwing things, using weapons, and so on. So we could say, for example, John's parents told him never to use violence to solve a problem.
Violence 是名词，代表就是任何和暴力有关的行为，像是肢体上的动手动脚动粗，都可以说是一种 violence。那它的形容词是 violent， 指的就是暴力的或者是很强烈的。For example, her boyfriend has a violent temper. And what's surprising about the story is that this was done by her neighbor.Right,
it's a surprise because the neighbor doesn't seem like the kind of person who would do this. And in the article, we describe this neighbor, Mr. Harvey, as seemingly mild-mannered. Seemingly is an adverb used to describe how a thing or a person seems, how they appear to be, but not how they really are.We use seemingly to describe maybe the first impression we get from a brief look if we don't understand it or know it too well.
Seemingly 是副词，指的是貌似，看起来好像是。所以呢，这边说他看起来是 mild-tempered, mannered, 但事实上他不是。But what does mild mean?
Well, mild is an adjective that's used to mean not strong, not serious.We could talk about a mild taste in food. If a food tastes mild or has a mild taste, it's not a strong, spicy, sour taste. Now here, Mr. Harvey, we say he appears to be a mild-mannered person. A mild-mannered person is someone who is kind of very gentle, very soft, very polite, not an angry or violent or crazy person.So, for example, we could say, the teacher is very mild-mannered. He never shouts at his students, even when he's a little bit angry.
Mild 是形容词，意思就是温和的或者是轻微的。那在这边就是形容 Mr. Harvey 他看起来是很温和的一个人。We can also use mild to describe the weather. A mild weather is not as cold as usual.
Right, it won't be too hot, too cold, too wet. It'll just kind of be, fairly average sort of day with nothing going on.
当我们用形容词再加上一个名词加 ed 的时候，它就会变成一个复合形容词。同样还有像是 warm-hearted 热心的，或者是 cold-blooded 冷血的。
And I think Mr. Harvey is definitely cold-blooded, a cold-blooded killer. So the article continues, but when Mr. Harvey skips town, her family, Susie's family, is robbed of their chance for justice. To skip town means to run away, to leave town without telling people where you're going or how long you'll be away for. You don't kind of say, oh, I'm moving out, I'm going up to the next town over, or I'm going to a new country. You just kind of disappear.
Skip town 指的是逃走或是潜逃 or we can say skip the country. 通常会这样做的人，他就是有做什么坏事，或者是有欠债，才需要 skip town. And escaping this way robs Susie's family of what they want.
Exactly. To rob someone of something means to take things away from someone, either by force or by stealing, or it could just be by denying that thing to them. You can't have it, so they're robbed of it.
Rob 是动词，指的就是抢劫或者是掠夺。那在这边 to rob someone of something 指的就是剥夺某人的某个东西。And what they're robbed of is justice.
That's right. That's what they want. They demand justice. So Susie's family wants justice. And justice is the idea that things are fair. That when bad people do bad things, they're punished. And people who do good things get rewarded. We often relate this idea of justice to crime and the law. Justice is supposed to be the idea that people who break the law suffer some kind of punishment. Now, if something bad has happened to you, you want justice. You want the person who did that thing to pay for it, or you want the thing you've lost or had taken away to be returned or at least paid for. For example, we could say, when the man who stole from his business partners was sent to prison, everyone said justice had been done.
Justice 是名词，指的就是公平正义。那像在这个故事里面，因为 Susie 被杀了，但是杀她的人并没有得到司法的制裁，他没有被抓到，而因此被关，所以 Susie 的家人就觉得他们没有获得 justice。But personally, I believe in karma, 就是报应。I think it's only a matter of time that we get justice, even if I won't be there to see it happen.
Okay, so the universe kind of delivers its own justice and sort of punishes the people and rewards the people. Well, that may be true, something we can maybe come back to a bit later. So the article also says, in this sense, there's a cruel touch of reality in the book. Okay, so we'll kind of explain what that means.
We explain this by saying, even though we know that Mr. Harvey dies before he claims his next victim, Susie's family doesn't know this.
So they never feel as though they get justice. As the article says, as far as they are concerned, her killer got away. He was never punished.
As far as somebody is concerned, 它是用来当副词使用，意思就是就某个人看来，事情是怎样怎样怎样。所以在这边来说呢，就是 Susie 的家人看来，因为他们没有从 Susie 的视角去看到故事的发展，所以他们以为这个杀人凶手逃走了。那我们还会说 as far as I know, as far as I can tell, 意思就是就我所知，或者是我认为是怎样怎样。
So the article then goes on to say, Susie's death is doubtless the book's most visible tragedy. We have a couple of words to look at in this sentence too. The first word is doubtless, and this means the same thing as certainly or surely. It means there's no doubt in something. Whatever you're saying, you're 100% sure of it, or it's definitely the truth. For example, we could say, David is doubtless the person we should hire for the job. His interview was the best.
Doubt 的意思是怀疑或者是不确定嘛，那所以我们在 doubt 后面加上一个 suffix less， 指的就是没有，所以这个字就会变成是没有怀疑，那就是无疑地100%确定的 without a doubt 的意思。例句说 David 100%是我们应该要雇用的人，他的面试是最好的。
And we also saw the word visible there. Now, if something is visible, it can be seen. And the word also means it's obvious, it's easy to notice and see. The opposite is invisible, something that can't be seen. Now, here in our article, the meaning isn't just about actual sight. It's about how obvious something is and how clearly it is shown in a book or a film. Here's another example. We could say, Kara's anger was visible. Her face was red and she struggled to speak calmly.
visible 是形容词，指的就是看得到的，或者是在课文这边指的是显而易见的 something that is noticeable。那它的相反呢，就是加了一个否定的 prefix， 变成了 invisible， 意思就是看不见的，或者是隐形的。For example, in Harry Potter, the clock that he has can make him invisible. So by saying that Susie's death is doubtless the book's most visible tragedy, suggests that there are other tragedies in the book.
That's exactly right. We know Susie gets killed. It's very obvious. That's visible. We can clearly see that's a terrible thing, a tragedy. But there are others. And we also see, the article says, but another tragedy slowly takes place as the story progresses. The phrasal verb to take place just means to happen, to occur.
Take place 指的是发生，所以课文说另一个悲剧会跟着故事的进行而慢慢发生。And what is this another tragedy?
Well, the article says Susie watches as her friends, brother and sister grow up.
And the article continues, she sees Ruth come to understand herself and Lindsay fall in love.
Yeah, so she's kind of like a watcher, we could say a spectator. All of these kind of life stories are happening. People are developing, changing, having relationships, understanding each other. And Susie can see all this.
But she can't have it.
Exactly. That's what we say in the next sentence. It says, Susie sees what it's like to slowly become an adult, something she can't experience for herself.
So this is the tragedy.
Right. She's kind of that chance to grow, to experience life has been taken away. But what's even worse, she can kind of see others happening.
Yeah, she's seeing the things that she can never have.
Right. So that's a big part of it. And there's also this part to it. By adding this element to the story, Siebold gives a voice to young murder victims. So what we mean by giving a voice is that she's kind of saying, you know, when we think about these murder victims, maybe we don't always consider the lives they could have had, you know, what it might be like if these murder victims could sort of watch what's going on, and they kind of suffer that extra loss, I suppose.
The article finishes by saying she shows us the side of the story that we never hear when innocents become the victims of unspeakable crimes.
That's right. Now here, innocent is being used as a noun, and it means a person who has done nothing wrong, and it also means somebody who doesn't know really a lot about the world.
Innocent 本来是形容词，意思是无辜的，但是课文这里把它变成了一个可数名词，指的就是那些无辜的受害者们。
Another word in that sentence is unspeakable. This adjective is used to describe any action or thing or even a person that's so horrible, so nasty, so evil that we don't even want to talk about it. The subjects make us feel uncomfortable. They're that bad.
Unspeakable 是形容词，意思就是难以形容的。那我们会用这个字来说来形容一些不堪入耳，或者是太残忍，以至于我们无法提及的事情。
Well, we've now finished all 3 days of our literature article for this month. So now let's go to our final For You Chat question.
For You Chat.
So the question relates to the word justice from earlier and kind of karma, your point. Do you think there can ever be justice when someone is murdered? Why or why not?
As I just mentioned, I think I do believe in karma. So it's a kind of like related to justice, I think.
Yes.
For me, I think there could be a
So
justice.
people will kind of be punished in some way.
Yeah, in some way. Maybe they have like guilt inside when like they feel bad. Not just like physically or mentally.
It makes me think, right at the start of these 3 days, I mentioned I'd reread The Count of Monte Cristo. One of the themes in that book is about the limits of human justice. So I think in terms of human justice, No, there can't really ever be justice when someone's murdered. You can punish the man or woman who's the killer, put them in jail, some countries even execute them, but this doesn't make the family of the dead person kind of
feel any better.
Yeah, they still have to live with the loss, and there's also, as we see in this book, the loss of that young person's life, their opportunity, all of that's gone. It's just a big hole that I'm not sure if ever can truly be filled. And that's what the character in The Count of Monte Cristo realizes. Human justice can't do all of that. So that's why he says we kind of have to hope that God or some other force does the job for you. So I'm not a believer in God, but I can kind of understand what it means by saying human justice can't really provide it. So you have to hope that somewhere, somehow,
the universe would do something.
Yeah, and the religions would teach that a bad person would go to hell and be punished for thousands and thousands of years with torture. Maybe that is the justice that maybe people are hoping for. But that's all the time we've got for today. Thanks for watching, everybody. For English For You, I'm Pat.
I'm Nikki.
We'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Vocabulary Review. Angle. I had a fight with Suzanne, but when I looked at the situation from a different angle, I saw why she was mad at me. Violence. Carrie doesn't like seeing violence in movies, so she avoids films that show people getting killed and hurt. Mild. The city had a mild earthquake today, and there was no damage. Justice. Thomas didn't get paid for his work, so he had to find justice in a court of law. Doubtless. Cindy is doubtless a talented artist. She wrote some famous songs when she was only 10. Visible. Tony made a visible effort to change his bad attitude, so his friends have accepted him again.
智慧小补帖
Supernatural. Seemingly. Innocent. Unspeakable.
以上节目是由活用空中美语制作，活用空中美语杂志，请洽询全国各大书店。如欲索取试听教材，请来电02-2364-4000 02-2364-4000，或上网查询，网址是 www.english4u.net www.english4u.net